So one slide and we'll get into a demo. So when we think about the larger project support team, the challenges that typically are presented often revolve around a lack of visibility, lack of efficient and immediate access to cost and schedule data in order to make business decisions. Another big challenge is that a lot of organizations, even if they have a good scheduling and cost solution, end up having a lot of manual and disparate systems in order to drive a lot of the earned value processes. Things like collecting status might be done on a copy of the schedule and then provided to a scheduler to enter in. Or the ETC may be put into an Excel spreadsheet and then fed back to a CAM or to the project analyst to enter in. So a lot of disconnections there that cause a lot of manual effort. Obviously, all of that drives a lot of burden on the system, and so that the result of that quite often can be compliance issues and result in attrition, where its resources are really overloaded and get challenged with personal time and things of that nature. So those are some of the bigger challenges, and so we'll focus on those here in this demonstration. Okay, so PM Compass is that command center, is that bridge between cost and schedule data and that delivery mechanism for providing efficient and real-time access to schedule and cost information. So the starting point for a user as they log into PM Compass is going to be a dashboard. Those dashboards are role-based. Each frame within a dashboard is what we call a dash part and can deliver information that's pertinent to a particular analysis process. So we generally will set up dashboards that support the business cadence, whether it be establishing a baseline initially for the project, or if it's going through a variance analysis process at month end in order to respond to variances or deliver information back to the team. So lots of good information that can be delivered through the dashboard, and they often start with reporting. Now, as I drill into a dashboard, I can zoom in. They're based upon again the information that I've been granted access to through security permissions on the project. What is my role? What information do I need to do my job? You'll notice here I've got a search bar or navigation bar. So the focus there is that we create standard dashboards that allow us to just change the focus from one project to another. And in fact, we can even select master projects or look at portfolio type views of data as well, which I'll show that here in just a little bit. In this particular case, we've got a CAP report. CAP report allows us to drill down through lots of information. Now, if we look over here to the left, we have I get it over there, there we go. We've got a document map that allows us to navigate through the hierarchy of the control accounts that I as a CAM have access to. So if I click on one, it automatically navigates me to that particular area in the project. And then of course I can drill down below that point and see resource specific time phase data and so forth. So it gives us a lot of information right at our fingertips. And again, this is reading the cost and schedule database directly. I'm not publishing anything, I'm reading it live. So if someone were to go into Cobra and update information, I would refresh this view and I would see those updates immediately. All of this information can be output to, here we go, can be output to a PDF, to Excel, to a Word document. If it is an Excel document, it's not a raw format. It's actually going to be a formatted Excel file that gives me a formatted view exactly as I see it on the screen here. So I'm able to share information with members that may not have access to PM Compass that gives them a good navigational type mechanism. Okay. So lots of different types of dashboards. If I jump here, we can see that I have a number of different types of dashboards. We may want to look at things in terms of schedule type view. So I can look at, let's see, CAM schedule view. So we can pre-process data and show quite a bit of schedule information at our fingertips as well. So maybe looking at activities that have slippage, maybe a milestone report that shows me major milestones that are coming up within a given time frame, or a 30, 60, 90-day look ahead. I can also look at pending progress. So what activities are due to be progressed over a particular time. Over to the left is our navigation window. So you'll notice that we have dashboards here available. So there's all of the dashboards that I may have access to. If we go into our project navigation, we're able to navigate to a project list and then select which project I might want to view. There we go. Being a little slow here this morning. So if I were to select, say, the satellite project here, I can look at cost analysis, schedule analysis, and I can jump right into entering progress. So nice navigation that shows all of the data that I may need to have access to. Okay, from a cost drill down. So this is very similar to what I might see directly in Cobra. We can also see over to the right-hand side that we're representing cost data in terms of a Gantt chart where you can see the time period over which those control accounts and work packages are spread. Okay. If I go into the progress window, we're able to go in and see what activities may be due for progress. So I can select an activity, enter progress information, either here in the grid below or in the spreadsheet area above. So direct entry of that information would then be approved and pushed directly back into the scheduling system. PM Compass will support Project, Primavera, and Open Plan. As Jack had discussed yesterday, our greatest integration capabilities are with Open Plan directly. So we'll go back to the list view here. And so that's more about dashboarding and how I view information. But another major area within PM Compass is really the workflow engine. So the workflow engine is going to give us a editable forms-driven mechanism of entering data, interacting with the underlying systems through a brokered workflow process, meaning that I can't just go in and update information on the back end. I've got to go through a authorization process or approval process in order to make changes, such as progress or editing and updating a estimate to complete type process. Variance explanations will be another example. Speaking of, let's look at a couple of examples here. So I'm going to go in and look at the explanation of variance. And I'm just going to choose one here and jump in. So the forms that we create here are editable. We can structure the content that we need to have in there. We can come in and enter information within the dashboard itself or within the form, and then go in and approve or take whatever action has been deemed needed at this stage of the game. I can see who has responsibility. So it tracks workflow assignments. And so I can see who's been approving or who took prior action, and then who has the next action within the overall workflow process. Another workflow that I'll show very quickly will be forecasts. So you'll notice that we have a lot of different variations of these workflows. So PM Compass will ship with out-of-the-box workflows. In this case, I'm going to look at this PPM forecast, and we'll look at final testing here, just as an example. This is one that was kicked off already. And if I go into change details, take a second for it to load. There we go. And let me move this over. So I can see a Gantt chart of all of the data. I can drill in. I can see control accounts in the work packages. At a given control account level, I can go into costs. Then I can see the costs associated with those forecasts, both the original forecast and then updates that I may have made against that. So I've already made some here. So you can see a difference between the official EAC or estimate at complete versus what changes I'm making in process. So all of this would then be approved, and then once I approve that, it would actually flow back into the source system, which would be Cobra. Okay. So those are a few examples of how PM Compass can automate and communicate directly back to the source systems, creating a more efficient environment for making decisions, collaborating on project performance. Okay. So I'm going to stop there and open things up for questions.
So you guys can either chat your questions or unmute yourselves and ask questions directly.
And while we're waiting on that, I'm going to actually go back to the native portfolio view and show the portfolio analysis dashboard. And so in this particular dashboard, we've got the ability to drill through a portfolio. In this case, I've got an enterprise portfolio that has multiple projects rolling up. So this particular dashboard is showing a few different ways of viewing that information. And then I can drill into a particular project, to control account, down to work packages, and see the time phase data.
So Darren, we did have a question come through via chat around which products PM Compass integrates with in the Deltek suite, as well as generally, I get lots of questions around how it communicates with, say, OpenPlan and Cobra.
Okay, so PM Compass will integrate and can represent data directly from OpenPlan and Cobra. It can integrate data from Microsoft Project and Primavera for purposes of entering status and flowing status back to, say, Project and Primavera, whereas in OpenPlan, we have direct integration to support the baseline process. In fact, Jack has talked about the new integrated baseline change process that's coming in Q1 of next year. And I believe Jack will have a deep dive on that later this morning. So that'll be an example of where OpenPlan is got a much deeper integration capability there. We can also represent in the dashboards themselves, we can represent web pages. So we can show Winsight Analytics as a web page in the PM Compass dashboard arena as well. What other questions?
Heidi Aguilar has asked, how is actual information updated in PM Compass? Is there a flat file update that can be loaded?
No, so, and it depends on the process that we're executing. So schedule information would be entered directly, as we saw a few moments ago, directly in PM Compass. So it would read the schedule information. So for instance, if we were using Microsoft Project, there's an import mechanism to draw the schedule data in, and then we would import or update that information and then push the status back. If it were ETC information, there is an ability to bring a transaction file to load that in as part of the forecast revision process. So that can either be done via that transaction file or entered in time-phased grid format as well. So a couple of different ways of entering that information.
Thanks, Darren. All right, David Grady asks, where, how do you set up portfolio dashboards and views?
So in PM Compass, if we got the permissions, and I don't believe I do with this user, and move this out of the way and log off and log on as a system administrator. I can type here this morning. So in a dashboard itself, we're able to create dashboards. Okay, so a dashboard is really going to start with reporting. So if I go into the reporting process here, and I'm going to just take as an example, I've got a portfolio report. Wrong one. So as we're going into this to define, and reporting in PM Compass functions very similar to Cobra, in that we would select a project and save data. So here you can see where we've got a master project. So if I want to generate one for a master project, we would choose that and hit search. I see the master projects in the environment, and it's going to read these from Cobra, the Cobra master projects that you already have defined, or I can create a master project directly in PM Compass, linking multiple projects together. So once we've chosen enterprise there, I can go in and choose what level that I want to drill down to, what results we want to include there, what cost sets we want to include, and it's going to read all of that data directly from the enterprise master project that I've chosen. So once we make all those selections and save this report, that saved report can then go back to the dashboard. Then we would be able to go into a dashboard. We can add a dashboard. We can choose reports as an example here. And then I'd have a list of the reports that we ran as part of the reporting process. So anything that's been saved, and you have security around that as well. So you may have certain reports that are allocated to, say, CAMs versus maybe project managers. And that in part is what's going to drive sort of the focus of the various dashboards and the role-based nature of those. Okay.
All right, so I think we have time for one final question. Stephanie Stevens asks, in these examples, how do you know when you're looking at the different screens, whether you're looking at cost data or schedule data?
You won't know directly by the screen itself, but what you can do is when you're defining a dashboard, you're giving that dashboard a name. So you may come up with a naming convention where you're defining it as, schedule data or cost data, because in reality, I can have a dashboard where I'm displaying both cost and schedule data on the same dashboard. So we can define a name that would indicate that it's schedule data versus cost data.
All right, perfect. Well, I appreciate everyone joining this session. We're at time now. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for joining Deltek Insight.
Thanks, everyone.